So, once again, welcome to class, right? We're going to look at the assignment. We have touched section 1 and section 2 on some if logical functions, both of them on logical functions. And we have section 3 and section 4 for today. Wow, this is quite lengthy, right? Calculate the average loan. Okay, so I'm not going to touch everything because some of them are very direct because of our time. I just explained that we want to manage 30 minutes, right, to solve the assignment, and there are about how many questions there. So the first one is, I think the first one is what we can jump. Calculate the average loan amount, right? So average means mean, right? And then our function is going to be mean, right? The function we're going to use would be mean, right? Let me quickly get to that. This from the last one we did, right? The question says calculate the average loan amount. And this is the column for loan amount here, right? So we're just going to use the mean. If I go down to the end of it, right, I can just do that somewhere here. Equals to mean. Like I explained, mean is a measure of central tendency. Remember our elementary statistics, right? We have mean, median, and mode. Three of them, right? Look, literally, people have been using mean, average, but then let me give you a literal meaning of it. I mean, a layman meaning of it. Mean is just saying that if you have the ages of, let's say, everyone in this class now, right? We understand that the age distribution is so much far from each other, right? We have people that are in their 30s, we have people that are in their 50s, we have people that are in their 20s, right? So if we want to mention the ages of everybody, let's say we have about 20 people in the class and it's spread within that bracket. In fact, we have people in their we have a teenager here, right? I mean, two or more like that, right? So which means that our ages are not really in the same bracket, right? So if somebody comes in now and asks for the ages of the people in the class, it will take time. It will take me time to begin to mention the ages of 20 students at the same time. This is 10 years old, this is 20 years old, this is 35 years old, this is 32 years old. It is not right. It's going to take time. So what I'm expected to give is just a single age, right? That is good enough to represent the ages of everybody, right? And then how do we get a single age for people that are 50, 50 years old, people in their 30s, people in their teenage years, and all of that? There is none, right? But then the mean is just going to help us, right? Not just the mean. There are a set of functions that can help us. It is that group of attribute or function that can help us that statistics call measure of central tendency or measure of location. That is one value that will stand at the middle of all the ages. In that, if I mention that age, the age will represent both the people in their 50s and the people in their 10s, the teenagers and the people in their 20s. That single age would be enough. And the meaning is that the age will just be plus or minus a regular number, a regular figure, from the oldest person and the youngest person. You understand? So the measure of central tendency of that nature are three, right? We have the mean, we have the median, we have the mode, right? So those are the three measures of central tendency. But then out of the three of them, one of them is more unbiased, right? The other two are very biased. And what statistics means by bias is that the other two that are biased tilt towards one side than the other. You understand? So it's not a very good, it's not a very good single figure to select to represent every other person, right? So the one that looks unbiased that we use at all time is the mean. Median and mode are very biased, right? Mean is unbiased, right? And then mean is same thing as average. So the keyword for mean, to calculate for mean, is not mean. In Excel, it is average, right? So I just look for average, and it will ask me for the numbers. I'm just going to put all the numbers in there. I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it already. So let me just finish it. So I'm going to pick from the first number, and I'm going to select to the last number, right? So I use Control Shift, downward arrow to select, right? And I'm going to close the brackets, right? And then say enter, right? So this is the main, this is the average loan amount that people collect, right? If you look at the value itself, right, the value itself is $11,750 dollars, $11,750, right? It doesn't mean that that is what all of them collect, but it just means that it's a single value that we can use to represent what all of them collect. We obviously have people that collect 4,000, 5,000, and we have people that are closer. We have 12,000 here, we have 15,000 here, and we even have 7,500 here. But then it's just a single value that can represent every other one, right? So that is how to solve that, right? Calculate the average means just use the average function. Now find the median, right? This is just the same thing I just explained, right? Median is also another measure of central tendency or measure of location that we talked about in statistics, right? But it is part of the biased measure, okay? But then we also use it in statistics, in data analysis or statistics. We also use it. Okay, Pastor Sir.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Thank you. Now, I wanted to find out this mean and average function. Which what's the difference between them?
So that's what I'm saying. Mean is the same thing as average. It's the same word.
Okay.
You will not see mean in Excel. What you see is average. So that is what is referred.
Okay.
So there are other means that we can also, like geometric mean, like the general mean. When we say mean, what we actually mean is the arithmetic mean. I want to assume that we remember the types of mean that we have. We have harmonic mean, we have the geometric, but that's more of statistics, right? This is data analysis, so we just focus on what we use the more, right? So what we use the more is the average, is the arithmetic mean, and that's the same thing as average, right? So we'll just use average to represent it. All right. So for median, the keyword for median is still median. So the function will be equals to. I'm not going to do it because of the time. I'm just going to show us, right? The function will be equals to median, right? And you can see the median, and we're going to select all the number the same way I selected it, and that's the second one, right? And then let's see the third question. Identify the highest and lowest total payment made. Identify the highest and lowest total payment made. So I see we all attempted it, and that is fantastic, right? Like I said in the class, right, that when I give tasks like this, there are some of them that I will give intentionally. It is not because we have actually mentioned it, but then I know that because we have talked about many things, we should be able to solve them, right? And I see people using several techniques to get it, and almost everybody who has done are correct. But then I would just expect us to use a particular function that I didn't really see anybody use it, right? So there is a function to calculate the highest value. There is a function to calculate the lowest value in Excel, right? The function to calculate the highest value is called maximum, max, M-A-X, and minimum, min, M-I-N, to calculate the minimum value. So let's use that to do this one. So identify the highest and lowest total. Okay, please, we can mute if you're not talking about the class, right? So identify the highest and.
I was trying to say that was what I used, max.
Oh, that's what you use. All right, thank you. That is a.
That's what I use.
That's what you use. That's okay. That's fine. All right, that's Sister Dami. Thank you very much. Okay, identify the highest and the lowest total payment made. So, what is our column? Well, we're going to look for the column for total payment. So let's quickly go to that, right? And let's look at it. Let's go up. So which of the column talks about total payments? Total accounts, total payment is here, right? So please be mind note that I'm not doing it in a particular order, right? I'm just showing us, right? I'm not very interested in arranging the Excel to look very tush, so to say. I just want to show us how that works. So I'm just going to do it anyhow. I really want to work with time. Okay, I really want to beat the time, right? So I'll be a bit faster in trying to do all of these things. So let me just do it somewhere here. So to get the highest value, we're going to use the max function. So highest value out of all these total payments, you can see that some people make a total payment of $3,939 dollars. Some make $4,911 and all of that. So out of all these payments that people make after getting the loan, right? Which one of them is the highest? Okay, somebody said I use max. Okay, Mr. Godwin, I use max. I mean, thank you very much. Okay, I think I saw that for some people. Thank you. Don't mind it. All right, so it's gonna be equals to max. That's the max function, right? And it's gonna ask us what is all the numbers. So we're gonna put in all the numbers, select all of them, and say enter. So it means that the highest payment that somebody made is right. We can format it to look like what we actually need, and then accounting. I use Control 1 to come to this format cell, and I'm going to look for dollar, right? Because we are talking about money here, right? We should format it appropriately. So this is dollar, right? And I'm going to say okay, right? You can see, and this is the maximum max payment, right? And we're going to do the minimum payment in the same way, right? And it's going to be equals to minimum, right? The same way, I'm going to select everything and say enter. See that. So the minimum payment that somebody made, that they made, is 36. So we have people who made 36, who paid $36, right, in their payment. That's very low. Okay, how much did they now get? Maybe he got a loan of maybe $30, right? So that's it. That's number 3. Right? Compute the standard deviation of interest rates among all applicants, right? This standard deviation, and it's very simple. It's not like the standard deviation in statistics that we have to plot in the mean, get the mean minus the value and all of that. If you still remember, statistics is a very long thing. Don't mind me, I studied statistics in the university, so I can still be familiar with some of those things. So don't mind. I won't bother about you not being familiar with them again. But then, if you are using Excel, you don't need to compute those tables. Just put in the keyword. And the keyword for standard deviation is standard deviation as it is, right? I'm going to show us, right? But I compute the standard deviation of interest rate. So the column of interest to us now is the interest rate, right? So let's go back there and let's look for that. This is the column that we need, right? So standard deviation of interest rate, let's call it STD, right? STDV of interest, yes, of interest rate. Let's put it like that, right? And then and we're going to use the keyword standard deviation, right? You can see this is it here, and you can see that we have 2 of them, right? So I should ask you which one did you use, but I don't want to because of our time, right? If you use standard deviation P, STDEV P, and if you use STDEV S, you should get the same answers, because they actually can mean the same thing. But then let me just give us the differences between them, right? Standard deviation, the P and S is talking about population and sample, right? And the people who are so familiar with statistics will be able to differentiate between population and sample, right? Sample is the aggregate population, aggregate number of people that is of interest to us. For example, if we have a project, right, to carry out some research in Nigeria, right? And then part of the activities that we need to do in that research will also involve to focus on the state, right? So our actual population is the population of Nigeria. You understand? So that's our population. That's the population that we have. So if you see STD, standard deviation population here, it's talking about the standard deviation of the whole population. Now, in Nigeria, we now have some groups, some what do I call it? Strata, right? Some subgroups that we can cover out of Nigeria that can be in state or in local government. So if I'm focusing on Ogun State, for example, so the sample out of the whole population of Nigeria that I'm focusing on, right, has become Ogun State. So the population that will be of interest to me will be the population of Ogun State, right? So that standard deviation is not P, even though I'll be talking about the population of the people in Ogun State, but it is a sample from Nigeria. So that's the standard deviation of S. So depending on how it is used, it can give you the same answer, right? So there's no bother. If you use any one of them, you'll be correct. But I'm just trying to give you the understanding of what statistics means by population and sample. As a matter of fact, if you want to focus on local government also, let's say Ado-Odo local government, in Ogun State, right? At that point, the population that we'll be talking about will be the population of people in that local government. But that is a sample, right? It is a sample from the bigger population of Nigeria. You understand? So without wasting time, we can use any one of them. So that's going to be, if I'm picking this, of interest rate. So I'll go to interest rate and I'll select everything, right? Interest rate, all of that. And say enter, right? Please, a minute. All right. And once I say enter, you can see that we have the standard deviation already. This is it. And you can see that it's in decimal number. So we're going to convert to percentage. This is percentage A. Once I do this, you can see that it's 4%. And that's the answer. It's very simple. I'm going to go to the next one. Let's see it here. And it's asking us, round the interest rate to 2 decimal places, right? So this is very short. It's very simple. So we are going to the interest rate, right? We want to round it to 2 decimal places. Already, we have, where is the interest rate? The interest rate we have converted it to percentage, right? We have converted to percentage, and then we can take it away from percentage and return it to number, right? So this is a number, and you can see that we have even made it be in 2 decimal places already. So I have done it before this class. I didn't even know that it would be part of the question. So let me return it to how it can be. So this is how it was when the question was sent to us, right? So I just use this. This is the button in Excel that you use to decrease the decimal places of a number, right? You'll see it under the Home tab, number group. This arrow that goes to the right and the other one that goes to the left. So if you click this particular button, it will reduce it, it will round it off, right? So if you are going to 2 decimal places, you can see that it's rounding it off. Look at when it was here, you remember round off. If it is from 5 to 9, it will round off as 1 and add it to the next number. From 4 to 0, it will round off as 0 and add to the previous number, right? So this is 0, of course. 4 will also use 0, and you add the 0 to 6. Remember those mathematics now, so I don't want to take our time on that. So this 6 also now, this will yield 1. This will yield 1 and round up to, and be added to this 8 to form 19. To form 19, right? I'm going to do that. And that's how. So it is in 2 decimal places already. And that's the answer. There's no big thing about that, right? So we'll just use this, and that is in 2 decimal places already. However, there's another way we can use a function to do that. So let me return it to this. Let's just return it to this, right? And we want to solve that question. I'm going to do it here, right? So we can use, there's a function called round up function. There's round down, there's round up, and all of that. So the keyword is the same way it sounds, round up. So we want to round it up, right? So once I select it, I select the function is asking me what is the number that I want to round up, right? So it is this number. I select that number, and if I go to the next argument, it's asking me how many digits, how many places do I want to round it up? And because the question says round it up to 2 decimal places, right? I'm just going to select 2 decimal places, right? And say enter, right? And you can see that it has brought it to 2 decimal place, right? I mean 2 significant figure, and I'm going to drag it down from there, right? Or better still, at that point where I selected only that cell, I can select all the I can select all the column at the same time, right? Let me start that again, right? As I selected this, I can do it for all of them and say comma. Then it will ask me how many number of digits, that is 2 decimal place, right? And I can say enter. And it will do it for all of them down from the top to the down. You can see they are all in 2 decimal places, right? So whichever way you want to use, it's either you use this button here or use the round up function. Round up function will be correct, right? So that's that. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much. 5 minutes more. Okay, let's go. All right. So the question says retrieve the total payment for a given loan ID, right? Retrieve the total payment for a given loan ID. Okay, and this is just talking about, okay, there's a hint that we should use the VLOOKUP, right? Let me clear a space to put that, and then let's put it somewhere here. Insert. Let's create another space. All right, insert. Don't mind me that I'm not really arranging the columns very well. I'm just pressed for time. Okay. All right. Now let's go back to the question and let's try to understand the question. Retrieve the total payment. That is, get the total payment for a given loan ID. So we want to use the loan ID to get the total payment, for that row or for that person, right? So usually, if you look at that table, the people have their loan ID that is written as ID, right? It's different from the member's ID, right? Member's ID is just talking about as it is used there, right? Member's ID, I think somebody's trying to ask a question. I was going through a lot getting that question right. All right. So I'm going to talk about it. All right. So member's ID, let's go to that column, to that Excel sheet. This is the ID, is the loan ID. If you look at this table itself, this data set is talking about some people wanted to get loan, right? So it is a loan data, right? And because it's a loan data, for every data set, for every table like that, it's always advisable to have a first column that will represent the ID. And because it's a loan data, it's going to be a loan ID. I will discuss more about ID, the essence of ID, when we get to SQL, which is the next phase we are going into from next week. Right? I'll talk about the ID, why we have ID, why the organization will always have employee ID. This ID, this is ID. We'll talk about that, right? It's very important to data, right? To data collection, right? And then because this is a data set for loan, you can see the name bank loan application, right? People trying to apply for bank loan. So we have a loan ID. That is what we have here. But if you come somewhere here, also you will have another ID, right? Somewhere here. Where is it? Right. I know there's another ID here. Grade, issue date,
member ID.
member ID. Yes.
Yes.
So there is a member ID. So this member ID is not particular to this table. It's just showing that the people who are getting this loan, maybe they belong to a particular group. They are a member of a single group, right? So they all have their own member ID. So the member ID in this case is what is representing something like the name. If you look at the data set, you see that the people's name are not mentioned. The people who are actually requesting the loan, their names are not mentioned. So what is used as their name to represent their name is this member ID. It's because they are a member of this group that are able to access this loan. You understand? So that is why we have this member ID there. It's like the name. They can take it away and just put the names of those persons there. It will still be the same thing, right? It's just the ID is identity. I hope you understand. So the identity of the member, you understand? And I've explained why we would have loan ID, this particular ID here, right? But then I'm going to talk about them more, right, when we get to the SQL class. All right. So the question is now saying that we should use this ID to detect. I'm not saying that. Okay, that we should use the ID, the loan ID, to retrieve the total payment. So, for example, for this particular person, you can see that these columns is so plenty, about 24 columns, right? I can't go to before I get to the total payment. Now I have to keep scrolling. Somebody has a question. I'll come to that. I have to keep scrolling to this point, right? Before I get the total payment, right? So let's say it's even more than this. How will I get the total payment, right? It says use the loan ID to get the total payment, and that it gives us a hint that VLOOKUP. We should use VLOOKUP. And of course, one of the things you see in VLOOKUP is that there will be a lookup value, right? Lookup value, like I explained, is the particular value that you want to use to search for the other one, right? So let's quickly go and answer the question. Please, I'll come to the person who is trying to ask a question. All right. So So in that regard, I'm going to say equals to VLOOKUP, right? VLOOKUP, right? And you can see the first argument, the lookup value. That is, what is the value that I want to use to look up and get and return what I'm actually looking for. Of course, you have to use something to look for the other one. And then that lookup value in this case is the loan ID, right? Then I'll say comma, it will go to the next argument. Is that asking me what is the table array, right? Where on what table are we trying to get it? Is obviously all these data sets. I'm going to select from the beginning, right, to the end, all the data sets. I've selected it. You can lock it, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? I'm going to lock it so that we don't have issues, right? I've locked it, and we say comma, right? And it's asking us what's the column index number. So what we are actually looking for, we have to locate the column, right? Oh, usually this part should not be there. I've selected all of them. So let me reselect. Those that were in class from the beginning will understand why. From this point is an assignment, the section 1 and section 2 that I did there, right? So let me quickly do something first. Let me separate this. Let me put a space between them, right? Yes. So from this point is an assignment. So you can take this away and take the fill away, right? Yes. So we break it there. So I can do that. I can go back to attempt that question. So I'm going to do equals to VLOOKUP, right? So my lookup value would be that ID, right? And then my table array will be, now if I select it, it will get to the point where we break it. So it won't capture everything. Then I can lock it. I can lock it. Oh, sorry. So I'll get to the people asking questions. I'm coming. Right. I can lock it and see, right. So it is locked. And the next argument is, of course, I'll do comma to go to the next argument. And it's asking what's the column index number, right? So the column index number is what we're actually looking for, which is the total payment, right? And that should be 24. Is it 24? Under what alphabet is that? Let me check. That is X. X should be 24 in ABC. X, Y, Z, 26, that's 24. So column index number is 24, right? And the comma is asking us if it's an exact match or an approximate match. Obviously, an exact match, right? And that's going to be the end of it, right? And I'm going to close the brackets, right? So you can see that the total payment is this and is that. You understand? So like somebody was asking me that, but the total payment is there, right? Why do I have to look for it again? It's just the question. It's just testing how we can use those functions. It's not because it's not there. We have it today. So the expectation is that you should get this thing that we have here, right? So that's it. So, and I'm going to drag it down to get for the other ones, right? And that's for the every other one, right? And then I'm going to return it to one. You can see we have it in, right? Yes, because it's talking about total payment, talking about money. So I've represented it to be like money, and I'm going to do Control 1 to bring the symbol to it, right? Symbol, and I have that, and the dollar sign is there, right? So because it's money, it's fine to leave it on two decimal places, right? And that's fine. So that's the answer. Right, so somebody is asking a question. I tried using XLOOKUP, right? Applicants, yes, if you use XLOOKUP also, XLOOKUP we work for anything VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP will work for. So if you use XLOOKUP and you have used your function very well, it will still work, right? Okay, the person said, but it didn't work. Okay, that's fine. We're going to try it now, right? So if you have used XLOOKUP very well, it will work. XLOOKUP work for anything that VLOOKUP will work for. You understand? XLOOKUP is universal. Right. Okay. So that's what you want to say, Mr. Godwin, right?
Okay, sir. No, I wanted to ask that, please, how do you highlight the whole table? like was this still Control Shift downward
Yes,
downward arrow that you
yes,
use?
Control Shift downward arrow. You know, this
Okay.
time around, we have to go to the left and right, right? So I
Yes.
did Control Shift forward arrow, then downward arrow.
Okay.
I
Okay.
hope you
Okay.
understand.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
All right. So I didn't label all this stuff, so I hope you will get it when you look at the video, right? This should be number our time is I wanted to use 30 minutes, but then this should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the VLOOKUP is number 6. So this is, let me just put number 6 here, right? All right. Number 6, and then right. This particular one is not money, it's a number. So let's return it to number, and this, and then yes. So all right. So let's try to use the X lookup, right? And let's see how it will work, right? Let me give one space, right? X lookup. So let's do equals to X lookup, right? So it's asking us what value. The lookup value is this, right? One beautiful thing about X lookup is that for VLOOKUP, your lookup value can only be one value, this cell that we have selected. But the beautiful thing about X lookup is that because we'll still do for every other one, we can select it from here. So we can select all of them as the lookup value, right? And even lock it, right? So that's our lookup value. So I say comma, and it's asking me what's the lookup array. Well, lookup array is still going to be that same number. So because it's asking me lookup array, let me not select everything. So I'm going to start again. Equals to X lookup, right? And the lookup value is that same number. All right, I'm going to select just the one. Then comma. What is the lookup array? So lookup array is the column where the lookup value is. So it is still this everything. So I'm going to select all of them as a lookup array. You understand? Lookup value is the single number. Lookup array is everything, right? And I'm going to lock it, right? I'm going to lock it. Yes, I've locked it. Then comma to go to the next argument. Now return array. So what we are expecting to get, which is the total payment, right? Where is it? This is the total payment. Is it talking about total payment? Yes, this is talking about total payment now. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, total payment. Yes. So it's talking about total, which is this, right? It's asking us return array. So it's an array. It's not a single number. So I'm going to select everything in there. It is an array, right? I will also lock it, right? And say comma. And then, so if not found here, you can see this function, this argument here. If not found, that is, if along the way, he didn't see what he's supposed to look for, or there is an empty cell along the way, what should you return? What should you write for that particular row? So we can tell you to write anything you put there, just like we used to do the if function, right? Anything you put there, it will return. So let's say if what you are looking for, right, is not there, you can't find it, what should you write? So we just tell you that write not found, right? Not found. And you know the reason why we are keeping it inside the double apostrophe, right? I hope that is clear. Wait, what happened? Did I just write?
It's not writing.
It's not writing, so let me do that again. So say write not found, right? Yes, and we'll say comma. Then it's asking us match mode. Obviously, it's an exact match, right? And then search mode, that's not compulsory. So I told you those things are optional, right? And we can say enter, and you can see that it has done it for all of them, right? This is X lookup. You can see it's actually returned it, right? And we're going to drag it down for everything, right? It should go for everything. Oh, so I don't know how long we can drag it, but then we shouldn't need to drag it like that anyway, but you've actually seen how it can work. So we can use this to convert it to accounting, right? Because it's talking about money, and then we'll take it to dollar, right? We understand all of these. Take it to United States dollar, right? And then here we are, right? So that's X lookup. So X lookup will actually work. So Mr. Godwin, maybe you'd have to try it again. Look at the function, the arguments, right? X lookup. I hope
Okay.
you should understand the meaning. I said it each time you're using a function. All you need to know is how to interpret those arguments. The first one is lookup value. Then the next one is lookup array, which is going to be the column where the lookup value is situated.
Yes.
I think that's where you can have it.
Yes, I've seen the mistake. I actually selected that first column. I selected all, not I was supposed
Okay.
to select just one of the ID.
All right.
So I selected the first one. Oh.
All right, thank you. Find the employment length of an applicant based on their loan ID. So this one is trying to get the employment length. We are still going to use the loan ID to get the employment. Something similar to what we just did, right? And then, okay, so let's put that somewhere here. Let's just, okay, trying to see a better place to put it. Let me put it somewhere here, right? Insert, right? So, employment length, NP length, right? Okay. All right. So let's do that. So that is still VLOOKUP. We want to use the loan ID to get the employment length. So it's going to be VLOOKUP, right? VLOOKUP, right? Yes. So it's asking us what's the lookup value. That will be the loan ID. Loan ID, right? You know, having to solve so many example on just one function will just get us familiar with those, with the arguments more. We've been doing VLOOKUP. So the next thing is the table array. So table array is just going to be everything, right, to this point. To what point? No. So table array will be table array. We're going to select this from here. This, all right, to this point and down. That's our table array. I will lock it, right, and say comma, column index number. What are we looking for? What did they say we should look for? Did someone should remind me?
Length.
Employment length. Employment length. So what column is it? Yes, thank you. Employment length. Where is the employment? This is the employment length. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4. So the column index number is 4, right? So I'm just going to put that here. Column index number is 4, right? And of course, it's an exact match, right? And I'm going to say enter, and it has done that. That's 9 years for the first guy. You can see it is 9 years, right? So, and I'm going to drag it down for to fill it for every one of them, and that's that question. And I'm going to do this as the last one. We'll jump this section 4. Maybe after the class, if we have enough time, we'll come back to index match function, right? But because of our time, I'm going to do this as the last one. So I said that don't mind this int that I have here. I didn't check it well. This int is actually misleading, right? You can't use VLOOKUP or approximate match for this, right? I should have been a logical function, right? So anything you use from ifs, nested if, and all of that will work. But then we have really talked about nested if, right? So I will choose to use if function here, ifs, not ifs, right? And the process is still the same thing, right? The question says assign an interest rate category. You understand? He didn't actually tell us what the logical test should be. So we'll just, for the sake of explanation, we'll just pick something at random, right, and use it. So he's saying assign interest rates. So make some people, let them categorize them to be low. I mean, those people that will get low interest rates, and some people that can get medium interest rate, and create some other category, call them high, interest rates. I mean, people that get high interest rates. So let's look at the table. And let's see the interest rate column. Let's see how it looks like, right? Where is the interest rate column? Let me create an extra column to answer that question. when the time comes, right? So let's go there. So this is the interest rate column, right? So let me return to convert to percentage. So let's say that if your interest rate is from 0 to 5, right? Let's say those people are low, they have low interest rate. And let's say we just said from 0 to 5, right? So then from 6 to, let's say 12, or 6 to 10, let's call it medium. And then from 10 above, right? Let's call them high. So 0 to 5, low, 6 to 10, medium, and then above 10 would be high, right? So let's come back here and put the answer here, right? I'm just going to put it somewhere here. So we'll say we're going to use the if function. This is ifs, the plural, and I call out the argument. And you can see that the logical test is logical test 1. You understand? Remember when we did some if and some ifs. Remember that we said that some ifs will have multiple criteria. So also for ifs function, there will be multiple logical tests, right? So one is if interest rate is less than or equal to 5. That's one test. Then there will be another test between 6 and 10. Then there will be another test for between the other one. You understand? So the meaning of if is that there will be more than one logical test, right? So logical test 1, like we have said. So we are saying that the interest rate, we want to test if the interest rate, which is this, right, is less than or equals to, you know how the operation looks like. This is less than or equals to in Excel, less than or equals to 5%, right? So if this is less than or equal to 5%, if the interest rate is less than or equal to 5%, what will happen? So value if true would be low, right? And you know how to write the low, right? We're going to keep it in the double apostrophe and write low, right? And then we'll do that again. Then comma, logical test 2 now. So logical test 2 will be the other one. So that is if the interest rate, which is this, right? If the interest rate is greater than if it is less than or equals to 10, right? If it is less than or equals to 10, because 10 is the benchmark for it, right? And then what will happen? Value if true will be, if that happen, we'll call it medium, right? And then value if okay, logical test 3 rather would be if that is greater than 10. That is if the interest rate, right, is greater than right 10, right? So and then comma, so the value if true will be I, right? We said let's use I for it, right? And that's it, right? So we can just stop there and close the bracket. As it close, yes, and say enter, right? You can see for this particular guy, right? Let's look at it again. So this guy should be I, right? We are getting this guy should be I. What is it giving us? So something is wrong. We need to check it. It's medium. So let's check it again. So we said if the interest rate, that's this, is less than or equals to 5%, let's call it low, right? That is fine, right? If it is less than, or if that is less than or equals to 10, yes, less than or equals to 10, let's call it medium, right? And if it is greater than 10, let's call it high. So why is it giving us that? So let's look at it again. Interest rate, all right? If this is less than, if it is less than 5%, oh, I didn't add percentage. Okay, that's true. That's true. That's the reason. All right. 10%. That's the reason. Thank you very much. All right, percentage, right, and then percentage. Yeah, thank you. Enter. So it is high. You can see that it's now correct. And let's drag down for all of them. So we can see that this guy, wait, I've covered. Let me collapse this so that we can see. Let me collapse this and let me collapse. Sorry. And let me collapse this. All right, so we can see, where is that? Where is it again? So we can see. I'm going to collapse. Okay, let me not collapse it. So we can see this guy, 19% is high, right? This is also greater than 10. So we have high. You can see we have this also. 15% becomes high also because it's greater than 10. And we can see this particular guy, 8%. It fall. We said between 5 to 10 should be medium, and 8% is there, and that is medium. So that is how it will be correct for every one of them down the column. So that is the response to that section, to this section 3, right? We'll find time to respond to this section 4, right? But then I want to quickly go into the class. We have almost just about 1 hour left, so that we don't use the whole of the class to attend to assignment. All right. Any question from this section 3 that we have talked about? Any questions so far? All right. If nobody is talking, right, it means that there is no question, so we can go ahead, right? Okay, that's that with this. And now I can share our actual data set. So we started pivot table in the last class, right? And if you still remember, we explained that I gave a definition for pivot table. I said the pivot table is the Excel tool, right? That is used to summarize, analyze, visualize, and interpret a data set. You understand? 4 keywords that are very important: summarizes, analyzes, visualizes, and interprets a data set, right? And we've actually been seeing, we've been looking at how this pivot table has been helping us to summarize, and analyze our data set. What we have not done is visualization, right? And we're going to touch that. I hope we still have time to touch that today, right? And then how do we access our pivot table in Excel? I also explained that. For example, number 1, before we actually come to the pivot table, right? Before we come to the pivot table, sir, that index match from section 4 didn't work for me. My Excel is outdated, so XLOOKUP doesn't work on it also. Oh, so maybe you need to, Mr. Aaron, maybe you need to get a new version of Excel, right? Then it will work. But then because we've not really talked about that section 4, right? Maybe we'll talk about it more when we are treating the section 4. All right. Thank you. All right. So this is the data set that we have in the document sent to us. And the first thing we did in class was to clean this data set, right? We found out that it does not clean. And in the last class, we have tried to clean it, right? And now that it is clean, we are good to take it to the pivot table. And I explained to access the pivot table is under the Insert tab, right? Then when you click the Insert tab, you will see the first group you will see is the table group, and the pivot table is the first button, right? In that ribbon, right? You can see the pivot table, and once you click it, it will bring a dialog box for you to say that, well, where is the table that you have? And it has selected the table. You can see that the table is selected, and the next question it will ask is that choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. So I always advise that you place it on a new worksheet so that it doesn't disturb your existing work, right? However, we can also place it on the existing work, right? So this is how to do. So once you say okay, it will create a summary page for you. It will create a new sheet because we are selecting a new sheet, right? I'm not going to do that again because we already did that, and that is That is why that's how we came to this point, right? And then I think I should just delete everything we've done here so that I can start that from scratch because of some people that were not in the class, right? So that we can also treat some things together. So I'm deleting all of that, right? I'm deleting all of that. All right. So I'll also delete this and start the pivot table from scratch. In fact, I'm going to delete the whole of this new sheet. Delete, right? Delete permanently. All right. So we are back to this. We have cleaned this data set. We're not going to return to that. So to access the pivot table, like I just explained, come to the data tab and you see pivot table. Select pivot table, right? And I also said that before you do that, ensure that at least a cell within the data set is selected, right? And once you have done that, select the pivot table and then the new worksheet and say, okay, that's all, right? Now, this is a pivot table. Now, what you can see here, you will see that what you are seeing is still like the normal Excel, right? It's because you still have the Excel in there. It is just this area that we have here that we call the pivot table. You can see that's where it is written, pivot table 1. So this is a pivot table. If you come to this cell now, this is not a pivot table, and you can see that everything you have everything has become your normal Excel worksheet. But then if you come here, you see that this area that is called the pivot table field has appeared. And one of the things that you also see is that you will see that 2 new tabs will be added to your tab ribbon, right? We now have the pivot table analyze tab and the design tab. That is, we'll be able to design our pivot table. If I go back again, you see that I'm on the Excel now. Those 2 tabs are not there again. So once I come here, it is there. Now, we said that the pivot table is used to summarize, analyze, visualize, and then interpret your data set. So everything we have in this data set, right, we want to summarize them using a pivot table, right? And then if you look at the right-hand side of that pivot table, you will see a field called the pivot table field, right? And the pivot table field will list all the columns, right? All the columns that you have in that data set. If I come to the data set, you see that these are the columns that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is why it is important that before importing your data set into the pivot table, you should have made sure that your data set is clean. And when I say it is clean, I mean that everything is well arranged, well organized. The headings are well written, how you want them to be. You have written them because it is how it appears here. That is the same way it will appear when you get to the pivot table. So everything that appears at the heading there, right, is what we have down here, on this side. So these are all of them. These are the headings. And all these stuff can come to this field that we have here. If you move down, you see that we have 4 other fields here. We have the filter field, we have the columns field, we have the row field, and the value field. And that area is just talking about how we want to arrange, how we want to arrange our charts. Don't forget that one of the things we'll be doing here is to draw charts, right? And then chart will always have x-axis and y-axis. One is row, the other one is column, right? Y-axis is the row, y-axis is the column, x-axis is the row. You understand? So depending on how you want to arrange it, and we're going to see it when we begin to use them. And by default, any column whose data format, right, is a number. If you select it, it will come automatically to value, right? And the reason is because if you have defined the data format to be a number, it means that we can do simple arithmetic like 1 + 1 to give you 2, and that's the value. But if it is not, if the data format is not a number, let's say it's a text, and you have Maxwell and then Olamide, written in those columns, there's no way you would have to say Maxwell plus Olamide to get an answer. So you cannot perform basic arithmetic on it, except it's a value. You understand? And if I come back to this, our data set, you see that this is a value, right? This is a value. You can say the data format here is a value, is a number. The data format here also is a number, right? And the data format here also is the number, right? Every other ones are not numbers. So if I back to the pivot table, right? If I come here and I select any of those ones that are number, right? It will come down to this value straight away. All right, so now let's begin to compare our data sets, right? Number one is to know what is the total. If I need to know what is the total revenue generated, you know, the total revenue generated during the sales. I mean, when in the data set. Remember, this is a data set and this is the revenue, right? Normal Rita generated this amount. Brian Asher generated this amount. In another sales, she generated this amount and all of that. So I want to know the total revenue, right? If I'm to be using Excel, I have to do sum, use the sum function, right? But if you are using, if you're on the pivot table, you don't need to stress yourself. I'm rewriting any function. Once you just come to that revenue and just check it, right? You can see because the data type is a number, right? It has come to undervalue by itself and it has sum it automatically. So you can see it in first hand. And that's why we said that the pivot table is used to summarize. It has quickly done the summary for us, right? And you can see that's why we have up here, we have sum of revenue. However, if you're not interested in getting the sum in, if you don't want it to add it together, you can come to this area, under this value field, you will see this arrow, you can change what you want to see. So you see value field setting, you can go and change the setting. If you select it, so it is on sum, that is why it has done the sum for us, right? If I want it to count, right, and I put it to count and I say count, it's just going to count, that rows, right? And it's telling us that we have 909 rows in that column, right? If I want to change it, I want it to give me the average number of revenue, right? I'll come to revenue, average, and say that, and it's going to give me the average revenue, right? Average is me. I hope you should remember that. If I also want it to give me the maximum, who made the maximum, the maximum revenue made in that column, I'll just go there and say maximum, and it's going to give me that way, right? But then we're interested in the sum, where I'm going to change it back to sum, and that is sum, right? And that is fine. If I also want to know what else can I know from that? If I also want to know let's go back to the table. What else can we know? If I also want to know the total number of items sold, normal Rita sold 3, but Asha sold 10 here, sold 11 another place, or when Reba sold 10. And if I want to know the total number of items sold in all, I can use the pivot table straight away to get that, right? And to do that, the meaning is that I am done with this pivot table, right? The pivot table can only respond to one insight at a time. If I need to get another insight, I'm going to copy that pivot table, copy it, and paste it in another location, right? You understand now? We have the pivot table here now, right? This is another pivot table. So once you put it there, you will see that it will show, the pivot table field will show. Then I'll go ahead to change what I did before. No, I've done revenue. I don't want revenue again. Now I want to see the number of items sold, right? And you can see that a total number of 7,997 items were sold in all the, to all customers. But then I actually want to put it somewhere here. So I'm going to copy it and put it somewhere here. Let me put it somewhere here, right? And that is it. So I'm going to use this one for another thing. So that is how we begin to get insight, using the pivot table. So now I want to know, I want to compare, let's say I want to compare the product sales, the salesperson, and the revenue that each of them get for us. These are the salesperson here, right? Arnold Cole, Brad Asher, and each of them, there's a number of sales they actually made at the end of the day. And I want to see it here. So it means I'm going to compare salesperson, I'm going to compare it with their revenue, right? And once I check revenue, don't forget that when I check salesperson, it comes under row by itself, right? Because it is not a value, so it can't come here. But if I check revenue now, revenue comes under value, right? And it has done the sum. So we can see at the end of the day that Arnold Co, right, generated a total of 102,721.6 naira for me, right? But Asha generated that amount. So here, I would be able to also know who generated the highest, who made the highest sales for me. So if I right click on the number here and do sort, right, I can sort from largest to smallest, and I can see that the person who has the most revenue for us in our organization is Von Allen, right? You can see that it is Von Allen, and the guy really worked hard. He generated a total sum of 180,438.6 naira for us in the organization. I can also go ahead to know who are the top 5, who are our top 5 performers, right? Don't mind the way it is now, because I have sorted it. You can easily look at it and say, oh, this is one, this first, second, third, and fifth. You can do it that way. But then I just want I want only the top 5 to show on this screen. So I can come here, and if I select that button, you will see filter here. You can see value filter. There's label filter, there's value filter, right? I can come to the value filter and come to top 10, right? The same way we did when we're doing featuring, sorting and featuring. And I'm going to change it to top 5 and say okay. And you can see that these are our top 5, the top 5 guys, who are really generated something good for us, right? So this is how the pivot table is helping us to get insight into those data sets, and we can begin to compare the performances of all the salesperson. So I want to check another thing. So I'm going to copy it again the same way we have said, copy and paste in another location for another one, right? I've just pasted, right? So I can come back. This time around, I want to compare for what should we? Okay, the revenue by month, right? Want to check for the revenue by month. So in each month, how much are we earning? How much revenue is the company making in each month, right? So it's simple. I'm just going to add. I'm not interested in salesperson and revenue again, right? So I'll still need revenue, because I'm going to look at revenue by month. So I can check months. Month will be under date, right? Now I've checked month, and you can see that when I check dates, right? In fact, many of us will not notice that data set that we have here is a 2 years data set, right? We didn't even notice, because all we're seeing is 2010. But the pivot table has helped us summarize it that it is for 2 years. So we have 2010 and we have for 2011, right? And once we check dates, don't forget that date has several parameters. In date, we have days, we have months, we have years. In fact, we have quarters, right? So it's going to list all of them. It's going to list all of them out for me. So if I'm going to compare it with revenue, I'm just going to look for revenue and check revenue, right? The meaning is that the total revenue made in 2010, even though we have agreed that the total revenue made in all those transactions is 1,351,093 and all of that, right? But then there's a way it is split. In 2010, what we made, the revenue generated was 684,416.45 naira. And in 2011, we made 666,676.70 naira. So you can see how pivot table has helped us to split it into years, because we have the data set covers for 2 years, right? So and you can see that if you check where we have it on the row, you will see that we have other things like years, month, and all of that. So the meaning is that I can come down, for example, this 2010, you will see this plus that we have behind 2010. It means that I can still dive down. So if I select it, we can see for each quarter. So in 2010, Q1, this is what we generated. This revenue generated. In Q2, this revenue generated. So it is helping us to have insight, good oversight of everything that is happening within the data set, right? So we can see how our salesperson are performing within the year. You understand? So as a journalist, it gives us good insight. So we can prepare reports. We can go to the meeting and advise and say that, oh, this is what we performed, in 2010. This is the comparison between 2010 and 2011. In fact, we can even go further to go and see the performance in each month, right, and raise several questions, right? Okay, Mr. Godwin, I'm coming, and raise several questions. January, out of in Q1, when we said we had 458,000 and all of that, in January was 46,000 plus, in February was 64,000 plus, in March we had 48,000 plus, right? And we can begin to compare. If you want to see for the other month, you will check down on all of that, right? Mr. Godwin, let me hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I wanted to confirm if these subparameters is what we have on the Excel sheet, like what the pivot table is giving us. This, I mean, this from
Yes.
2010, first quarter, second quarter, and the rest.
Yes, that's exactly. It is actually the pivot table. It is this data that is, that it is summarizing for us in that pivot table.
Okay, okay.
Yes, that's what we imported into it. So there's no other data it would have used, right? In fact, as a matter of fact, if you come to that data set, if you still double click on that data, it will go straight and go and see how that amount was made, right? And it created another sheet. It calls it detail one, right? Let's come back to it. So we said in 2010 we made this amount. So when I double clicked on it, it goes to the details. How did we make that 684,416.45 naira in 2010? It provided in details. So you can see now we have in this date this amount was made, and this item was sold, and this revenue was made, and it splitted it all how we achieved that particular amount that we claimed there. So you can see it. You can even dive down into all of that. So I'm going to delete that. It's just to show us that part, right? So we can see for the other months all of that. So we can also go to, you can see after January we still have the plus in there, so we can check it to see per day, right? So in 2010 January 3rd, that's when this revenue starts. That's when sales actually started, right? Nobody sold in January 1st, nobody sold in January 2nd, right? So even if I was not in that organization when those sales were made, right, but this data set was given to me as a data analyst, already I was not there, but I know that they didn't make any sales in January 1st, they didn't make any sales in January 2nd, 2010. And the reason we can actually think about it, we don't know how true, but then we can reason that because January 1st is a new year, all of them are working from home. I mean, all of them are enjoying their New Year celebration. Nobody goes to work. And usually, they declare the second day also as another holiday. So nobody goes to work. So work actually started on the 3rd. So that's a quick reason that we can think about, right? But then if it doesn't look like that reason is genuine, for example, if it is a shopping mall like Just Right, Shop Right, we will agree that those guys work during the festive period. And if this data set is given to me, so as a data analyst, I'm going to raise an alarm to say, why did we not work? Why did we not work in January 1st? Right? That's a good time to sell for malls, for grocery selling and all of that. Why did we not sell? Why did the shop not open? Then we can begin to query who needs to be queried and say what happened, and they will give us details as to what happened. Maybe genuine, maybe not genuine. At least it has helped us, to know what has happened. So that is how pivot table is helping us to get into our data. But then this is where we are going to. We're actually trying to compare months, right? So what I actually want to compare is the sales analysis is the revenue by month. So I want to see the revenue, what we actually generated by month. So I'm going to come to this place because I don't need quarter, so I can come here to delete quarter, right? Remove field, I remove that field. This year I don't need also. I'm going to remove this field here. You can see now it has given me months, right? As also these date, I don't need it. So I'm going to take that away, remove field, so that I will be left with only month. And once I've done this, you will look at these labels, you will see that there is no that plus sign that is behind, that plus icon that is behind them is not there again. So I cannot drill down into the days because I've deleted it. So I'm just left with what the performance is in each month, right? So one of the other things that you will see here is that this area is supposed to be showing months because that's what I selected, but it's showing row label. In the last class, I explained how we can correct that. And I said that we just come to this design, right? Select it. This is one we want to work with. So come to design, right? And come to report layout, and then select show in tabular form. And you can see that it has shown the date, right? The same thing with this, and then that, right? It has shown that this is salesperson, right? So I have seen the sales revenue by month. So in January's for the both years, right? January 2010 and January 2011, we made a total revenue of 134,315 naira. In February, we made this amount. So you can see that you can see our revenue, sales and revenue by month, for the 2 years combined together. So if I want to see other insight, of course, the usual style is that I'll copy the pivot table, right? And I'll paste in another place, and I will have another thing to look at, right? So I'm on another pivot table, right? So what else can we compare? So here is just to begin to compare what is happening between all of those, all of those columns. I've seen the top sales, the top 5 sales, the top 5 performance. We can also look at the regional sales analysis, right? The regional sales analysis, and with this, I will compare regional, right? I want to see how they are selling per region, right? Because we have a column that speaks to region. If you look at the table, we have region, right? So how are they selling in the southeast? How are they selling in the southwest? And all of that. So we can quickly run into that. Somebody wants to ask question. Most sold products. Yes, we can also look at the most sold product, but then we'll look at all of that, right? Let's see now. We want to look at the regional sales analysis, right? So on this particular area, I'm going to uncheck what we had before. I'm going to uncheck this and uncheck this, right? So I'm going to check the region, right? Yes, I have the region. I said we want to look at the region, the regional sales analysis. So and let's check the region and the by month, right? We are still going to check it by month. Yes, check it by month, and then let's see, we want to compare it with revenue, right? How much are we making in those areas? And you can see it. And one of the things that you see is that it's probably not arranged in a way I would prefer it, right? So I can come here and pick maybe the region. I can come to pick the region and put it on the column, right? Yes. So I think this is fine for me. So I can see the revenue across region over month. So I can see that in the northeast, I hope you understand what I did. I relocated one of the columns so that it can shape it in a better way for me to read, right? I can see that in northeast, right? In January, northeast, we made a revenue of 38,520 in the northeast, in the northwest 26, north southeast 32, southwest 36, and total that we made in January. That's how we got that 134,000. What we have here. That's how we got it. When we compare to what the revenue is like per region, right? And I'm just going straight, to talk about, to let us see how those performances are in those regions. In the last class, we actually focused on some important questions that a data analyst will always ask. For example, if I'm going to return to that, one of the questions to ask is that so if we have deployed the same effort into all the region, then we are expected to get the same output. And if you are not getting it, we'll ask questions, right? So why is it that we are in January, right? We generated a revenue of 38,000 in northeast, and then we are struggling to generate something big in northwest. They are both north, you understand? And this same question that a data analyst will be able to see and raise, will becomes an headache within the organization, and the sales manager will have to answer: what is happening? What did we not do well? What do you want us to do? What should we, what do you need more manpower? is there any skill that is lacking? Is there anything that the people that are selling in the Northeast, is there anything they know that the people in Northwest do not know? Do we need to bring guys in this Northeast and deploy them here and see, so many things will arise, and we'll begin to, look internally to see how we can, we can solve them. We talked about those areas in the last class, but I'm just focusing on getting those insights right in this particular class. So that is one other thing that we have seen. We've seen the revenue across region. You understand? The revenue across region. And then we can also go ahead, right? I'm also going to copy it again, and then copy, and then let me copy it here. The other one that we copied initially that we took away, I'm going to take it back, and that is talking about the revenue per year, right? I'm going to do that again. I'm going to uncheck this, right? I'm going to uncheck this, right? I actually want to pick the date, the complete date, right? So I'm going to check this, and I'm going to check it with the revenue, right? So let's keep this. We need this, and of course, so we have actually seen that what was made in 2010 and what was made in 2011, but I don't need quarter. I'm going to take quarter away, right? I don't think I need quarter. I'm going to take month away because I already looked for the month. Remove field. I'm going to take date away. So I'm going to take date away. So I'm left with the field. Yes. So we can see what was made in 2010 and what was made in 2011. All right. So there are so many insights that we can get from it. But I don't want to stop this class halfway, just like we did in the last class. So I'm going to stop here. When we come, I'm going to stop here to move to the next thing today. When we come in the next class, we would have been so sure that we don't have anything to do before class. We will go straight, we'll pick another data set, and we'll analyze that data properly, right? But then for here, let's stop on this analysis and go to the next phase. And the next phase in analysis is not just to come to the pivot table and begin to see the insight. This insight, usually, it is only the data analyst that can relate with it, right? It is the data analyst that can really relate with it. What will be expected of a data analyst at the end of the day is to prepare a report with all these things. So we cannot take this screen now to go and present as a report. People will not understand because they are still seeing numbers, everything jam-packed together, right? Nobody understands what is happening here. So it is a duty of a good data analyst to now prepare all these things we are seeing here in form of a chart. That's what we call visuals. So when we say visualization in data analysis, we're actually talking about represent all of these things in a chart. You understand? So it is a chart that we can now take out for report and go and show them in the meeting that this is what is happening. Look at a trend. At this point, this is going up. At this point, this is going down, and all of that. You understand? And that's the same thing I'm going to do here. So we're going to see how to design a reasonable dashboard, right? Which we can now use for report. You understand? So we're going to go there straight away, and then and to do that, right? The dashboard will design it in a separate sheet, right? Let's call this particular one here, let's call it summary. Let's rename that sheet 1 to summary, right? Let's call this summary because that's where we were seeing the performances of, we're summarizing the data, right? Let's call it summary, yes. And let's call this one now that I just created dashboard, right? So we want to design a dashboard here. So don't forget, everything we do here, we'll start from scratch with a new data set in our next class. So we'll pick up a data set. Everybody will be expected to come very early to the class because it can take time. We have 3 hours. So the 3 hours will be good for us to actually look at them. We'll pick a data set. We'll begin to analyze them from the beginning to the end. We'll design a dashboard and we'll begin to, to just focus around the insight that will be seen from it. So, but now for this particular one, we want to draw the dashboard. Now the dashboard, right, will be designed here on this screen, and then what I always advise, the same way it is in every tech activities. For example, for those for in website design, right? Before you design a website, it's always advised, the same way I always advise, that we should always design a blueprint in our notes. I don't have light here. I would have shown us what I have done in my notes. So this dashboard I want to design, I have created it, drawn it, in my diary, that my dashboard will look like this. You understand? So I'll always advise that before, after summarizing the data with the pivot table, now that I want to draw a dashboard, first of all, design how the dashboard will look like. Design it in a paper so that it will be easier for us to just quickly attempt. So we'll just be replicating what we have drawn as a blueprint in our diary. We'll just replicate it on the screen, right? So what I'm going to be using for as an example now, I have sketched it out in my diary, right? And we're going to see how it will look like. Now, the first thing to do, the dashboard is going to be on this screen. So I don't want these checkers, that I'm having here. I don't want it to be there. I don't want to begin to see this sheet 1, sheet 2. So I'm going to take all of them away. And how do I take it away? I'll come to the formula tab. Sorry, I'll come to the view tab, right? Is it view tab? Yes, the view tab. And the first thing you see, look at under the show group, you are saying grid line. I don't want that grid line to be there. I want to check that grid line. And you can see that, you can see what my screen now looks like. All those checks, all those cells are not there again, right? I can even take my formula bar away because I don't need it. This is the formula bar. If I need it later, I'll come back to bring it. So I'll take the formula bar away. You can even take the headings away, but then let me still put it for now, right? So I've done the first thing. I've cleared my screen. You understand? So that I don't have lines to disturb me. Now, I haven't done that, right? I'm going to draw my background. You understand? Where I'll begin to place my cells. I mean my chart, right? So to draw the background, it means that I have to bring a shape, right? I have to bring the shape into this Excel, and to access the shape into this Excel, you see a shape under the insert tab, right? This is an insert tab. Select insert tab. You see under it's like, is that a control group? You see illustration. Check the illustration, and if you see it under the illustration, you see this shape, right? You can go ahead to select shape. You see several shapes that you can work with in A, right? I'm going to select this rectangle, right? And then I'm going to select the rectangle and draw it, right? Draw it across my screen. That's the area where I want to draw my chart, right? Let's say I just want to maintain just A, right? Maybe I just put it A, okay? All right, so when you bring in that shape like that, right? If you look at the tab ribbon, you will see that a new tab has been introduced because I am accessing the shape. And that tab is called the shape format, right? And that's the area where you can format the shape you have drawn. So if I don't want this background, I can go ahead to change that background. You will see shape styles and all of that under that shape format, right? So I can come to fill. Fill means background, the color of the background, shape fill. So if I select it, I can see all other colors that I can pick for my background in here, right? So you can say, what color do you want to pick your background? Usually, right, if you are designing a dashboard, you want to use the color that represents the brand you are representing, right? If you work for MTN, for example, you want to consider MTN kind of yellow and maybe black, you understand? And then if you are taking this as a consultant and then you want to design, you want to do this analysis for an organization, of course, you have to ask for their color, and so that it can really appeal to them. All right. So this is design, right? So your sense of design will always be needed here, apart from your normal understanding of data analysis and all of that. This is purely design, right? So I'm gonna pick a color for my background. Okay, I want this to be my background. Personally, I love working with blue. So let me pick this kind of this for background. Now, like I said, I have drawn a blueprint in my own diary how I want my dashboard to look like, and this is how it looks like. So I'm going to, this is my background in here, but then I'm going to create another shape. I'm going to pick another shape, this kind of rectangle. I'm going to pick it and put it in here, right? I'll put the company logo somewhere here. I've created this for the company logo, right? And then I'm going to take the line, the border line is there. I'm going to take it away. It's called outline. I don't want to have the outline there. I'll say so that it doesn't show border. And that field, I want this to be my field. Yes. I'm going to select this color as a field. And then I'm going to, that same color, I want to give it a gradient. I want it to have a gradient. So I can come here to actually give it a gradient. I'm coming. Let me look for more gradients. All right, it's still this color that I'm using for gradient. Yes, gradient fill, right? And then color is that. Okay, let me pick something like this. All right, so let me leave it on something like this. Yes, I'm good with this. Is somebody trying to ask question? Nobody. So also, I'm not done. I will give it a shadow. This is design, like I said. I want to give it a shadow. I'm just designing the way I want my stuff to be. This is particular. This is gonna be unique to my own style of designing, right? I want to give it something like a shadow, right? Yes. So at the end of the day, I have this. Now, this box I just created is where I'll put the company's logo or my logo, as the case may be, right? Every dashboard should always have an heading. I mean, a heading, right? The title of the report you are designing. So I'm going to create another area for report or for heading, right? I'll place it like this and drag it here. This is going to be for my heading, right? And then because I have drawn the blueprint already, so I know what I'm looking for. So I'm going to create another one. I'm going to do something like card visuals here. You will see by the time we get into it, I'm going to mention some stuff again, right? What do we mean by card visuals and all of that? So this is going to be for my card visuals, right? I need 2 of it, and I'm good like that. So I'm going to create another one. I'm going to use another chart here. I'm going to use a line chart, right? I'm going to put the line chart here. I'm going to put the line chart somewhere here. I'm going to place the line chart somewhere here, right? I'm going to use a bar chart, right? I'm going to use a bar chart. I've done all of this in my own diary. I'm just replicating what I've, this shape that I've drawn in my diary. I'm just replicating it, right? All right, so I want to bring a bar chart somewhere here. Yes, and I'm still going to use another stacked column chart. So there will be another stacked column chart somewhere here, right? Stacked column chart too. And finally, I use the slicer, right? I use the slicer, which should be somewhere here. I'm saying duplicate, Control G to duplicate, and I have a slicer somewhere here, right? I place a slicer here. All right. So all right. So this is how my dashboard is going to look like at the end of the day, right? Now I can go ahead to begin to put in values into them. For example, what is this dashboard talking about? Let's look at the pivot table again. It is a sales analysis, right? is sales. We can call it 2010, 2011 sales performance or sales report. You understand? So that can be my heading. So I'll go back there to the dashboard and write in there, right? And to write, right, I can just go and bring out another shape, right? Shape, under shape, you will see this text box, right? I'll bring the text box in here. I hope you understand how I did that. Insert tab, illustration, shape, and then you pick the text box. So I can put the text box here and write the heading. So we said that is 2010 stroke 2011 sales performance. Sales performance for what's the name of the organization? Let's just say ABC Limited, right? For ABC Limited, right? So I'm going to format that as well. Right? You'll see that we are on this particular text box, right? And on that text box, if you select it, you can change the shape, right? We can make it big, all right, so that it takes in the area we want to put it, right? I can use 16. I can make it bold, right? And change of course, the color is white, right? Okay, that stuff was not actually written in the text box I created. So let me do that again. Right, I'm going to create a text box, insert, illustration, shape, and here is text box. I selected text box, and I'm going to type what I want to type, right? Let's do that again. Illustration, shape, right. No, that's still not it. Let's do that again. This one is typing on this shape that I've drawn here. I don't intend to type on that shape, right? So let's do that again. All right. Let me put it somewhere here. The text box. This is the text box. So let me lift it and bring it here. So that's the text box. So 2010 stroke 2011 sales performance for ABC Limited, right? ABC Limited, right? I am on this text box now, and one of the things you will see, because I'm on this text box, you will see that I still have this shape format, right? I can use that to redesign that text box the way I want. For example, I don't want this white background to be there, so I can come to that shape format and come to shape fill and do no fill, right? So the background has gone. I can also, what else can I do? I've done no fill. I can enlarge it like this, and then maybe make it smaller, bring it to the middle, and then come home, right? Come home to make it bigger, right? Change the font size. Let's say I want to keep to 18. That is 18 in there. I can make this bigger so that I have, okay. Okay, let me change it to 16 because 15 looks like it's getting too big. I can make it bold and change the text color to this. Yes, maybe you can maintain it this way. All right. So this is our heading. Yeah. So I can leave it this way. So this is the report this is the heading, the title for the report I am trying to create, right? So I can also come here, come to illustration, pick picture, right? so that I can have a logo in there. It's asking me place in cell or place over the cell, right? I'm going to place over the cell. Don't forget that in that Excel sheet, there is a cell. There are cells that I have gone to deactivate. So if you say place in cell, it's going to keep when I go to my system to pick the picture, it will keep the picture inside the cell. This picture will not be more than the cell. So I actually want to place it over the cell. So I will select this over the cell, right? And it will take me to it should take me to my system, right? Let's come outside, right? Let's do that again. Picture.
It is loading.
Yes, over. Oh, it's loading. Yes, this device. That is, where do I want to pick the picture from? I want to pick it from this device. So it's expected to take me to my computer. Yes. So I'll go to where I keep my pictures, right? Of course, it's going to take it to your own system also. So if you have any logo you want to do, you can do well to first of all download a logo, at least something to work with while practicing, right? I'm going to pick this particular logo export, logo, just trying to pick my own logo. So I have all shades of the logo here. So I'm going to pick this particular one. Yes. And once I say insert, it's going to bring it there, right? It is there. Let me cancel this. So I have the logo in there. So I can bring the logo to this place and resize it, right? Right. So I have my company logo in there, right? That's how to bring the logo in there. Now, one of the first thing I'm going to do, right? I can even bring an icon before you even go further. I can bring an icon because this is talking about sales 2011, 2010, 2011 sales performance for ABC Limited, right? So if I need to bring an icon that can describe sales, I can still come to all these places via insert illustration, and you can see icon here, right? So there are so many icons on Excel, and that's how to access the icon on Excel, in Excel rather. So it's loading out the icons that are available. There are so many of them. So I'm just going to write a name, right, that looks like what I'm looking for. I write sales, so it's going to restrict it to what looks like sale. Yes. So let me select this and say insert. So to bring the icon for me, where is it? The icon. Okay. So now once I bring the icon, if you look at this place also, you see that a new tab has been introduced. So I can use that to change the color of the icon and say, let me make it white, right? And resize it, you understand, and bring it somewhere here, right? So that's how to access the icon in Excel. If you look at this as well, still on this tab, on this text box, you see the line is showing beside it. I don't want that line. That is the outline. So I'm going to go there and take the outline away, right? And the outline is gone, right? So we just have that. So now I have created, don't forget that I have this blueprint. I just draw what I've drafted in my diary. So in my diary, what I intend to use these two places, something we call card visual. Actually, by the time we get to the Power BI class, I'm going to take time to explain how to select your visuals. There are several visuals. When do you use line chart? When do you use bar chart? When do you use pie chart? We don't just select charts anyhow. There are times that it will be fantastic to use those charts, right? And then we're going to talk about it by the time we get to the Power BI class, right? Now, there is a chart I'm going to use here, right? It's called the card visual, right? Card visual is not on Excel, but then we can just design it. So I've designed this small box to be like a card. So what I want to have on it is that I want it to show the total revenue, right? And the total number of items sold. That's what I want to put. These two things are what I want to put in there. But then, before then, I should label it, right? I should label that card. And the same way I've been labeling is what I will still, the same approach is what I will do. I will go and select my text box, draw it here, and write what I want to put in there, right? That should be total revenue. So I'm going to write total revenue, right? Total revenue. I'm going to take the white background away, right? So no more background. I'm going to take the outline away as well. No more outline, right? And then I want a white color for it, right? I'll make it bold. I think I'm good with that font and the font size, right? So I can come and place this here and call this place total revenue. I think I also like to underline it, total revenue, right? So I'm going to duplicate that text box, Control D to duplicate, and then undo. All right. I want to duplicate the text box, right? So, right, Control D to duplicate. All right. So let's look at what I'm going to do here, please. I need attention here, right? I want to bring it in. What the total revenue there? I want to bring it in here. So I think I will need my formula bar. So let me check it back. Let me bring it back, right? So I'll come here and check the formula bar. So I need the formula bar here. So let me come back here, and then I will come back here and cancel everything, right? Now this text box that is here, right, it is working with this formula bar. So I'll just come to the formula bar and say equals to. Don't forget that anytime you put equals to on the formula bar, it's ready to accept a function. You understand? So I will just go back to the summary and come and select. This is the total revenue. I will just select it from here. Instead of me writing the figure, on that box, I'll just come and select it and say enter. The formula is missing a range reference or define name. Okay. Okay, let's do something before then. Let me just try to do something before that time. I'm going to take that away again and come to this place. Let me copy this and place it out there. It could be the reason why it is responding. So let me copy it elsewhere like that and do the same thing for this. All right. So we all know that this is for revenue and this is for item, right? So I'll come back to my dashboard. All right. Let me do the duplicate again. So this is what I'm going to use, right? And I will take the revenue away, the total revenue, and then come to and say equals to, then go there to pick it. Let me pick this particular one here. It should work, right? You can see it does work well now. So I have my, all right, I can format it the way I want, and then come in here, make it white. Yes, white. Make it bold. Bold, yes. Maybe it's now bigger. All right. I may also want to change the font to something different. All right. Biome lights. Book Antiqua. Let me use Book Antiqua. All right. And I leave it this way. So this is my total revenue. The reason why I didn't type it in there, I went to pick it from there. You will see it if time will still permit us to conclude this chart, this dashboard tonight, right? So that there's something we'll say to make it interactive. And you will see it by the time we are done with it, how we make it interactive. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other visual, and I want to use this one for total items sold. Total items sold. So how many items was sold, at the end of the day, right? All right. Duplicate it, bring it there, right? I'm going to delete the total items sold and come here, say equals to, and come in here to select the, right? So I will format it, right? I'll format it to the right. I'll align it to the right, yes. And then change the color to white, make it bold. I remember I selected book Antiqua, right, for the font, book Antiqua, yes, for the font, right. So I'm going to reduce this and place it well, right. Don't forget that this is me just doing my design my own way. What you will do may be different to what I am doing, right? But then I recommend that we still follow my design for this first class so that we can be well familiar with it, right? All right, so that is my card visual. I've done my card visual in there. Now, this I designed this box to take our sales trend, revenue by month. So we want to see the sales trend, how we are generating revenue by month. So what that means is that I'll do the summary and which of these pivot table talks about revenue by month. I think this is this one, right? So I'll check it anywhere on it. Then I will go to, if you look at this space, right, you will see pivot table analyze. If I check it, we can pick our chart from there. But I always advise not to use this particular pivot chart. Don't pick your chart from here. Why? Because this is a chart from the pivot table. It may not actually give you access to all the charts. For example, let's go there. If I select all of these now, right, you can see that if I want to use histogram, it will tell me that I can't use histogram. It's giving some error. I can't use some other chart. I can use whiskey, box and whisker. I can use waterfall, but then there are some charts that I can't use histogram. In fact, I can't use this. It's still giving those issues. You can't create this chart type because of one or two reasons. The one that can easily be used here is the pie chart, bar chart, area chart, and some more. But I may want to use something different from that. So I always advise that you don't pick your chart from here. So just come to insert tab. Just come to the insert tab, right? And then we'll see recommended chart here. So we can see enough charts to use there. So let's always pick our own chart from this area. Come to insert and you'll see recommended charts, right? Let me go back there again. Come to insert tab, then you will see all the charts here. In fact, all these are charts, right? All these are charts. So you can select any chart you want to use. So I actually want to use a line chart for this, right? I want to use a line chart. So let's look for a line chart. This is a line chart here, right? So I can insert a line chart. So there are the types of line charts are here. So I'm going to pick this particular line chart. So don't forget I said I'm still going to create a class where we have to talk about how to choose that chart, right? But then because I know what to use, that's why I've selected chart. I wouldn't go and use a bar chart in it because it's not fine to use a bar chart. The reason, of course, we'll talk about them when we get to the class, right? So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to cut it, Control X to cut, and I'll take it to my dashboard, right? I'll come and paste it somewhere here, right? Control V to paste, and you can see it here, right? So once I bring it in here, the same way you will see that these three new tab will show up, right? So I can come to that format, to this format, and take the color white background that is in there. I can put it onto no fill, right? So there's no color in there yet. So I can come and fit into the area that I want to put it, right? I understand that you're not seeing anything at the moment. Everything is black, right? I understand. So we can also come here and come and put in the shape fill, the font color. Of course, we can take the outline away in here, right? I don't want to see the outline, right? And then there are so many other things. Okay, maybe before we do that, let's use the background. Let's use the white background so that we can see one or two things. Yes. So I want to make this thing bigger. It's a line chart, right? So I'm going to take this heading away, right? I've taken the heading away. I'll right click on this and remove this field, right? Okay, I'm removing this. Okay, sorry, not remove. I'm going to hide value button. I'm going to hide this. So that has gone. I'm going to hide this also. What I'm doing is just to make the visual, the chart I've used to make it well presented. This is design, like I said, right? I'm going to do this. Hide axis field. I'm going to hide this field, right? You use this area, this plus sign, we can go here to come and to use it to edit this chart that we have created, right? We can use that to remove, if you don't want this line to be there, you can take it away. If you don't want this month to be there, you can take it away. But I think we actually want it to be there because it's going to spell it will help us to spell out what we are doing. But then I don't want this thing is called legend. This total that we have here is called legend. So I'm going to take it away by unchecking legend, and it has gone. The grid line that is there also, I don't want to have it there. I'm going to uncheck grid line, and the grid line is gone, right? So I think I can now, what else would I want to do, right? I need to change the font, change the color of these text we have here. And how do I do that? I can come to this text option. You can see text option here. If I come to text option, then it's asking me what is the color. It's on black at the moment, right? So before I change it, actually I can come here to come and to take the background away, because the background is going to disturb us, right? So I'm just going to take this background away. No fill, right? Yes, the background is not there again. So I can come here and pick this color and make it white. All right. So this is still somehow good looking. At the same time, my actual line chart, because I'm using a line chart, right? The actual line is not well visible, right? It's because it's a kind of blue. So I want to take that color away, right? So I'm going to select on that particular line, and I can do right click. Once I do right click, I will see this functionality that will tell me that format data series. So I want to format that chart. So I'll click it, and to bring me to an area where I can begin to work on that, right? Let me see this place. Yes. So the color, I'm going to take it and change it to white as well. Right. So that's the white. If I want to make it a gradient, of course, I'm not doing that. So I've just done that on the line. The marker, I don't want the marker to be there. All this stuff are marker. I can take it away if I don't want. If I want it, I can put it there. So I can say marker should have no fill, right? Or is on automatic. Let's leave it on automatic at the moment. All right. The marker is on blue. You can change it to white. Yes, the marker also has been changed to white. All right. So maybe for now we can leave this here like this. So this is a line chart that is representing this sales trend, right? And of course, the chart also is expected to also have a heading, right? Maybe somewhere here. So I can still come around to pick my text box, and then maybe draw it here and write into it. Let's call it sales trend. This is our sales trend. So this is showing us how sales are made in each of the months, right? Of course, I'll format that also. Take the shape, take the background away, no fill, right? Take the outline away, no fill. We have 2 minutes more. Take the outline away. Maybe I can also come here to change the font size and maybe increase it a bit, right? I can make it bold and even change the color to white, right? If that's how I want it, and place it well here. I can even underline it, right? So this is how we are going to be designing our dashboard. But then this is the first one, right? So I'm going to stop here because of our time. We'll continue from here because I don't want to take beyond what we said we're going to use. So we'll continue from here in the next class, right? But then the summary or where I would like to end it is to say that usually creating a dashboard is always very important in presenting a report, and it becomes the responsibility of a data analyst to ensure that the dashboard is well looking, right? This is just the first design that we're trying to do, right? It's just to show the sample of how it works, right? I'll just leave us with the video. When we share the video, just let's go ahead how we
the new thing that we have done today is to select how I took off the grid lines from the Excel, how I use the shapes, and how I bring in text box into it, and how I've been formatting the text box. So that the new things that we have actually done in this class. So let's go ahead to the video when we share it and try to work with it again. So we'll continue from here in the next class. Is there any question? Any question? I didn't even ask if we still have people following us in the class. I've been the only one talking.
We are still following, sir.
Yeah, we are following, sir.
We are following very well.
All right. So there is no big thing. There is no big thing here, right, in the class for now, right? I'm just going to leave us to the video, right? Let's do well to go through the video, and then you can just try to walk around all of this again, and let's replicate what we have done up to this point, right? We try to format it. For those that were not in the class when we clean that data set, you can check the previous class, the previous video share, to see how we clean that data set, so that you can be up to speed when creating the dashboard. Until then, maybe we can call it a day at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
sir. Really appreciate, sir.
Thank you for
so much, sir. God bless you.
pick it up from me in the next class. Thank you, everyone.
Sir.
All right.
Good night, sir.
Good night, sir.
Good night,
Good
sir.
night, sir.